Never mess with NATO. 5 scary reasons why China, Russia, and North Korea can't destroy the NATO. What effect would Russia, North Korea, and China have against an organization with 30 countries, including the country considered to have the strongest military in the world? Will the trio win the fight, or would they be too terrified to start one? With only 12 countries at its inception in 1949, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, has grown over the years to become a force to reckon with both in military might and economic prowess. This association consists of 30 member states, including the United States, the current world power. In this video, we shall look at 5 scary reasons why China, Russia, and North Korea can't destroy NATO. However, before we get into the details, ensure to like this video and subscribe to the channel Military Technology Updates. Alright, let's go. 5 scary reasons why China, Russia, and North Korea can't destroy NATO. Number 1. Individual military strength of each member. One unique feature of the NATO alliance is that it draws strength from the individual power of its members. NATO has limited military personnel, weapons, or vehicles, but it has access to the best weaponry, military personnel, state-of-the-art gadgets, and tools than any other alliance or country in the world. This vast collection of devices at the alliance's disposal is due to the fact that the alliance has the liberty to use the tools of any of its members. Its member states are also up to the task, as some of the states are home to some of the world's most sophisticated weapons, tanks, and fighter jets. Other countries have better trained fighters ready to defend the alliance whenever they're called upon. France, the United Kingdom, and the United States are 3 out of the 5 nuclear weapon states under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. These countries own nuclear missiles, which can change the tide of events in seconds. Among the NATO alliance, the United States is hailed as having the most robust military strength, with a total number of 2,260,000 military personnel in 2020. This is a number greater than the number of military personnel that can be obtained from all other NATO countries combined. Other NATO countries that make up the NATO alliance also have significant individual strength. Today, the United Kingdom, France, and Germany are considered among the 10 most powerful countries in the world. Now, just imagine NATO tapping from this pool of economic and military wealth. Number 2. NATO has access to the strongest and most sophisticated Air Force and Navy in the world. As we've seen earlier, the NATO alliance is capable of drawing strength from its member countries. Among these sources of strength are the United States Air Force and Navy fleets. When you consider the skies, the U.S. Air Force can be said to exert significant dominance over the skies. With over 13,247 military aircraft, 405 intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, and 170 military satellites in 2022, the United States has the world's largest air force. Some of these aircraft, like the Artemis aircraft we covered in our previous video, are super spy planes intended to be used to obtain surveillance information on the enemy territory. Others, like the F-16, are fighter jets used to attack enemy lines. However, the mid-70s saw the dawn of a new generation of US-designed aircraft. These aircraft, known as sheath aircraft, are designed to be silent killers. Using a variety of technology, they remain undetectable by enemy radar, leaving the enemy dumbfounded when they strike. The F-117 Nighthawk was the first operational aircraft specifically designed around stealth technology. Over the years, other designs have been developed. They include the B-2 Spirit, the F-22 Raptor, and the F-35 Lightning II. These aircraft are indeed the pride of the American nation, and the United States doesn't fail to show off its superior air force. Imagine this. With 13,247 aircraft units in 2022, the United States alone has more aircraft than Russia, China, and North Korea combined. This is one of the reasons why NATO is considered the strongest alliance globally, because it has access to these aircraft. Comparing the NATO military air force with Russia, China, and North Korea's military air force combined, the NATO allied countries have 2 times more aircraft, ICBMs, and military satellites than the trio. Strong air support provides valuable support to land and naval forces, often in the form of aerial reconnaissance and close air support, a major determinant for the outcome of a fight. NATO also has significant control over the seas. This control results from the large and powerful U.S. naval fleet NATO has at its disposal. The U.S. Navy is said to be the most powerful naval fleet in terms of technological advancement. This naval fleet has in its possession numerous submarines, patrol boats, amphibious warfare vessels, cruisers, destroyers, frigates, littoral combat, and mine countermeasure ships. 3. Higher combat experience. What are million-foot soldiers who have not seen war firsthand except documentaries and movies? Do you think these soldiers, though numerous, stand a chance against a military power consisting of experts who've seen and experienced battle? As a general military rule, if you intend to use your military, combat experience is incredibly important. The country may have generals and staff who come up with doctrines and theories and procurement that specify equipment, but how does it know the effectiveness of the equipment? The combat experience of an army determines how militaries find out the unknown unknowns. Combat experience builds skill and technicality and develops moral character and discipline in the Army, traits found in the U.S. Army. The U.S. Army troops have encountered a lot of wars and have been trained both morally and technically to become one of the feared troops in the world. The U.S. Army is not free of mistakes during battle. In fact, the Army is a product of these mistakes. With each error made on the battlefield, the troop learns to adapt and make changes and upgrades based on what's seen and experienced in battle, not mere theory. The battle soldiers also transfer that knowledge to the recruits, and this ritual of information passage continues. This is one of the reasons why the United States has one of the world's most sophisticated and recent weapons. Other countries that make up the NATO alliance have gotten their share of combat experience. The British Army, for instance, actively engages in operational duties across the globe, providing peacekeeping and humanitarian aid and enforcing anti-terrorism measures in places like Africa, Belize, Brunei, and Canada, among others. The French and other countries in the NATO alliance have recently seen some active military service. On the contrary, the Chinese and North Korean military cannot be tagged as an experienced military in active combat. It's factual that both countries have highly sophisticated arsenals. Statistics show that China and North Korea have the highest and fourth highest active military personnel, respectively. However, what is numbers without real combat? Lack of skills can also be seen in how the Russian army fights the Ukrainian military. Now a fight that the world power could have ended in a flash has lingered for 2 months, 3 weeks, and a few days. Before we continue, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, Military Technology Updates. Alright, let's get back to the video. Number 4. Larger number. The larger number advantage for NATO can be seen in 2 ways. First, one could consider the military might, which has so far been the focus of our analysis, and the overall economic and legal power, both of which are evident in the Ukrainian crisis, a clear indication of what would happen in a direct face-off. Looking at the current Ukrainian crisis, one can clearly see NATO's numeral strength in the war's progression. Last February, the Russians invaded Kyiv, Ukraine's capital, with a show-off of bombings and heavy shooting. However, in early April, just a few days after the onset of the invasion, the seemingly small Ukrainian army retook the capital. This forced the Russians to humiliatingly retreat from Kyiv and focus more on an invasion of the eastern and southern borders of Ukraine. Though many may say that this small victory against the Russians happened because the Russian army is still only a fraction of its full glory, it's also evident that NATO's support of Ukraine has yielded positive fruit. On countless occasions, Ukraine has received both military and humanitarian aid from countries worldwide, especially countries in the NATO alliance. The military aids have come in the form of spy planes like the Artemis and the Javelin anti-tank missiles, both of which we've seen in our previous video documents of state-of-the-art weapons and vehicles. Most of these aids have been very efficient. We have seen that the anti-tank Javelin has helped the Ukrainians battle powerful tanks like the T-80s we covered in a separate video. In fear of the rising Ukrainian strength, President Putin warned the US and other countries to stop rendering help to Ukraine or face unpredictable consequences, a statement that has proven to be a bluff. Secondly, the number of sanctions the Russian government has faced since the onset of the war sure tells you about how deadly the NATO alliance is. A few days after Russia invaded Ukraine, it faced several sanctions from different countries. These sanctions have undoubtedly resulted in the current economic crisis Russia faces. They have played major roles in the ongoing crisis. Sadly, an alliance with China and North Korea would do Russia no good, as both countries do not have any other strong ties or relations except those with one another. A face-off between the trio and NATO would result in a collapse of the Chinese and North Korean economies, as we've seen happen to Russia. Number 5. Unity of the alliance. A strong, skilled, and intelligent alliance without unity is a dead alliance heading for doom. The NATO alliance is one that stood the test of time. With a 73-year-old track record, the alliance has risen to become the largest, strongest, and most unified alliance in the modern world. Interestingly, the 30 countries that make up the alliance also have international alliances, which also help foster the international unity and love between the countries. In the alliance, every member country has an equal say in discussions and decisions, no matter how large or small. The member states are committed to individual liberty, democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. Values are at the heart of NATO's transatlantic bond. Intending to safeguard the Allies' freedom and security by political and military means, the alliance has indeed proven to be worthy of its name. It's not surprising, then, that Sweden and Finland are attracted to the alliance and have strong desires to join. And as this alliance amasses more members, it gathers more military personnel, technology and weapons, economic and political power, and strength. NATO is indeed a force to be reckoned with. All right, take care.